What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Talk on Tap podcast. We're here. You can find daily videos Monday through Friday, mainly covering the NFL, but quickly, baseball season, the playoffs are right around the corner, and the NBA season is quickly approaching as Media Day is this upcoming Monday. So if you enjoy any of those sports, but mainly the NFL, make sure to subscribe. Truly mean a lot. I'm trying to reach 100 subscribers by the end of October, so hopefully you can make that happen. Appreciate everyone that just even watches, drops a like, whatever it may be. Support is very much appreciated. But with that being said, in today's episode, if you haven't already, make sure to go check out my Thursday night prediction and my predictions for the whole week. But it's also on the screen right here, just for a quick reminder of the games I have, where I have Seattle beating Minnesota, or we'll just go game by game because the episode today is our AI model predictions. Who does our AI model have winning each of the games, and just a little bit of reason why. But with that being said, yeah, should be a good one. Excited for it. Week 4, it's already flying by too fast. I want it to slow down, go back to week 1. But with that being said, when NFL's on, it's a good day. And we start off with an NFC West showdown where I picked the Seattle Seahawks. I think they're just the most more complete team on offense and defense. And the AI model seemed to have an agreement. But with it being in Arizona Thursday Night Football and them still having a scrappy defense, some talent on offense, they like Seattle to get the division win on the road at Arizona, as I feel the same way. I think will be a somewhat close one, and our AI model agrees with that nonetheless. And then next up, our first Sunday game, international game. So football is really all day Sunday, where we wake up. For me, my Minnesota Vikings play 9:30. Then you have all the 1 p.m. games, and then the 4 o'clocks, and then Sunday night. So it's a lot of football. I don't know how much my eyes can take, but my Vikings are playing at 9:30, so I really have to be up the next 2 weeks. International in Dublin, where the 2-1 Vikings take on the 2-1 Pittsburgh Steelers. I just picked the Vikings. Similar matchup versus Arizona, Seattle. I think both defenses are very good with Brian Flores. Pittsburgh still has a lot of talent, can take the can force a lot of turnovers like we saw against the Patriots. But I think the Vikings offense, even with Carson Wentz starting, is just a little bit more complete. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison is back for his first game. Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill. I trust that offensive line more. Ryan Kelly should be coming back in this one. TJ Hawkinson. And while I do like DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin, Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Warren, I just don't trust their protection up front. Aaron Rodgers has taken some sacks for some picks. I do think it's going to be an ugly one, low scoring, but our AI model kind of agrees with us. Just in the trenches battle, they trust the Vikings D line versus this Pittsburgh O line to be the difference in Minnesota winning a 23-17 game. We're 2-0 so far. I also agree. I'm always most of the time I'm going to pick my Vikings if it's a 50-50 game, which I think this is. But like I said, I think the Vikings weapons, Jordan Addison come back. Obviously, Justin Jefferson. I think they're on a different level than the Steelers. I think they'll do enough. And the Steelers defense did look a lot better last week, just forcing turnovers, but still hasn't looked like the Pittsburgh defense we're accustomed to. But still, overseas, anything can happen if the Steelers force 3-4 turnovers, which they easily could against Carson Wentz. They probably will win this game, but should be a good one. Just excited to see how that Irish fan base is for both teams. But with that being said, next up we have an NFC showdown between the Commanders at Atlanta, and I picked Washington. I didn't pick them against Vegas last week. And Jay Daniels, I think, is 50-50. It's not really up to him, but maybe with them getting a win last week, they're more comfortable just resting him again, maybe making sure. But they easily could give him a go in this one. He says his knee feels good. And I just like Washington. I think they're the better team. Their defensive front seven has been getting after it. And with what Atlanta showed me last week, it's very hard to pick them. But this is the first one we disagree on. The AI model likes the Falcons to come back and have a rebound week. And I think they trust Bijan. I think Michael Penix a bounce back game. Drake London finally gets going at home. They're back, in their environment. They need to rebound. And, this is part of the thing. I think human overreaction. I think a lot of people think now the Falcons suck. I obviously don't think that's the case. I saw what they did to my Vikings, being able to run over them. Their defense has been quietly one of the best units in football. And I know it said Carolina 30-0, but it really wasn't on the defense why they lost that game at all. Bryce Young still didn't really do to go crazy or anything, had like 150 passing yards, a rushing touchdown, but it is what it is. they like Atlanta to bounce back, and I could see that if Mariota plays, because Mariota is a backup for a reason. He did control the game very well, but if he has to go in against this elite Falcons defense, there could be some turnovers, and the Falcons win an ugly one. So I see the vision here, but I just trust Washington. Terry McLaurin can finally get going. Debo Samuel, Mariota still has the legs, and if Jane Daniels plays, I really find it hard for Washington to lose this game, but they have model like Atlanta just with the injury toss-ups. Maybe he's still rusty, not practicing. Him and Terry haven't been on the same page so far. So it should be interesting. But that's the first disagreement we have. So Washington versus Atlanta. And I'm fine with that because I do need some disagreements as the AI had a much better week than I did last week as I went 7-9 in picks. And the AI still didn't have a great week, but it went it had a 3-game edge on me. So 10-6, obviously way better. So with that being said, Washington versus Atlanta is our first disagreement. Next up, Saints versus Bills. No disagreement here. Area model likes the Bills by the biggest gap of a 31-16 score. I think that's around what's going to happen. Bills, I think, should be able to run the ball effectively with James Cook. Josh Allen will use his legs where he needs to make plays to Dalton Kincaid, Shakir, Keon Coleman. Someone will step up. This Bills team is one of the best in football, Super Bowl contender, 3-0. They're not going to, I think, have a slip up here. While I do like Spencer Rattler, it's just going to be a tough environment in Buffalo. Ed Oliver, Matt Milano should be come back for this one. This has no upset potential for me. And just given the way the Saints got BTA last week, maybe they just can't really play on the road because they're 2 games at home. To his credit, were competitive, but in this one, really nothing to do. Confidence level is the highest one as well as the only 5 out of 5 for Bills, and can't really blame them there. Next up, Detroit versus Cleveland. In this one, the AI model likes Detroit to win around a 27-18 score. I think, that's pretty much what we should expect. I think Detroit's offense has shown they're not going anywhere, even with the departure of Ben Johnson. The way they ran all over the Ravens, dropped 52 points against the Bears. Jared Goff playing some elite football right now, taking care of it. But Montgomery and Gibbs is what keeps this offense going, the 1A, 1B combo. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and Laporta are some secondary bad options in the passing game. And this offensive line, especially the interior, has looked a lot better over the last 2 weeks. And then obviously Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker, some stud tackles. This Detroit team's complete. Credit to Cleveland's defense. They're going to make this ugly. Cleveland's defense, one of the best in football, obviously led by Myles Garrett, the best defensive player in football right now. But with that being said, even I think if it was in Cleveland, I could see a road where Cleveland gets, a surprise upset like they did against Green Bay, or at least keep it very close. I think Detroit will win by, though, at least 10 points in this one. I think at home, they have the running game to be able to do it. I think their offensive line, I think Green Bay last week, Zach Tom going out first play really made it rough. I don't think in Cleveland, too, that fan base was going, crazy in the dog pound. It's a tough place to play. In Detroit, in the Dome, I like the Lions to put up enough points in their defense to hold this offense really outside Judkins and Judy, not really in Njoku, but, Joe Flacco really hasn't been that inspiring at all. So this offense, I don't think will do enough. Detroit's defense has been very good so far to start the season, and they're healthy, and Aiden Hutchinson seems like he's coming into his own. So I think Detroit should win this game if I had to predict around a 27 to, 13-ish type of game. Next up, Titans versus Texans, a battle of the winless teams for, I guess you can say, slight hope to keep their season alive in this one. And we both like Houston to win this one. I think just the pure talent from Stroud. This defense is still elite. They've lost 3 one-score games. I think this one should go in their favor. As bad as the offense is, as bad as the offensive line is, CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, Nick Chubb, I think they'll be able to do enough against this Titans team at home to win like a 23 to 20 to 10 game. I don't know, somewhere around there. I think 17-10 Texans. I think the Titans defense, will obviously give CJ Stroud in this offense problems because who can't? This offensive line is the worst in football. But Cam Ward, we've seen some great stuff. We've seen also just some bad stuff. And like I said, the main concern is I just don't think Brian Callahan's all that great of a head coach. I still think D'Amico Ryans in this defense is elite. They're going to be desperate for a win. I do think finally they get their first win of the season. While I don't think they're going to the playoffs, I think this gives them a minor hope to save their season in the sense of desperation. And RA Mile agrees. I think Houston's defense will be able to overswalm Cam Ward. And I really feel bad for Cam Ward just getting Denver week 1, LA week 2, the Colts, undefeated Colts, and then this elite Texans defense. He's had some tough tests to his rookie season so far. Next up, Patriots versus Carolina. We both like the Patriots to win. I think the analytics, we both picked the Patriots last week. They should have been the team that won. Travion Henderson is now getting first team reps with the Patriots. I think they just can't turn the ball over. When you turn the ball over 5 times, you shouldn't win the game. And the Steelers were the more disciplined team, only turning it over once. A lot of red zone mistakes. Ramondre Stevenson with 2 fumbles, Drake May with that red zone interception. But I think the Patriots system is still good. Drake May is still playing pretty well. Butte looks good. I wonder if Diggs, maybe this can be a game for him. But Carolina's secondary is elite. It's not going to be easy. I think it's going to be an ugly game. I think it's going to be one of those 17-13 games. But I think the Patriots at home, they're the more talented quarterback, in my opinion, the more talented team all around. I think while Carolina's, secondary, J.C. Horn's elite, Milton Williams, Harold Landry's having a great start to the year, Christian Gonzalez. This defense with Mike Vrabel's tough. I think this offense, I trust them more, and mainly just the quarterback play more to win this game, even though it will be a dogfight. Because Carolina obviously looked amazing last week pitching the shutout. And our AA model also agrees they like New England in a close win at home. Next up, Chargers versus Giants. Jackson Dart's first start at home. I think it's unfortunate that he has to go up against one of the best defenses over the last 2 years in football. I took the Chargers, not really thinking much about it. Herbert right now would be my MVP pick. Quinn Johnson having a year 3 breakout. Keenan Allen, always reliable. Lad McConkey's, had a great rookie season, looking to build off of that. I think he'll get going. Amari Hampton coming off his best game. And obviously this defense is elite, just with a bunch of different guys. Derwin James in the secondary. I think they should win this one. Jim Harbaugh coaching them up. And our AM model also agrees. I am very excited, though, to see Jackson Dart. I've been a big fan of his since Ole Miss, but I'm not sure. I think Malik Neighbors, should be good to go in this one. I know he's banged up at the end of last game, but Tracy not being there, so Cam Scatterboo is going to be the hard runner. This offensive line, Andrew Thomas, John Michael Smith, if they can protect Dart, maybe this gets interesting, and just having that QB spark plug. I could see it being a little bit closer than we think. The Chargers obviously have Joe Alt, Mekhi Becton up front, but the Giants have an elite front 7. Brian Burns kind of off to a great start. Abdul Carter arguably had his best game against the Chiefs. If this front 7 could get after Herbert, force a couple fumbles, I could see, how the Giants could pull off the upset, but I don't trust it. I think Herbert has used his legs to the best of his ability, so I think he'll be able to escape from some of those bad pockets. I think the Chargers will win this one around like a 26 to 16 type of game. I think Dart will, have some flashes, but also he is a rookie. His first start against a really, great defense, great team, 3-0. I do think the Chargers will go 4-0, but, I don't think it'll be the worst debut. I don't see him throwing like 4 picks or anything, Nathan Peterman style, but should be a good one. Obviously, though, me and the AI model are in lockstep with this one. Chargers should win this one. Next up, a battle of 3-0 teams where Philly travels to Tampa. Both teams coming off emotional wins, walk-off wins. Tampa Bay kicking their game-winning field goal after their first field goal a minute before got blocked. That would have iced the game against the Jets. And then the Eagles blocking the game-winning kick, returning it to the Rams to complete the 26-7 comeback. I just took the Eagles. I think the injuries with Mike Evans, being out, I think just Tristan Wirfs, the offensive line banged up. I think Philly's more healthier. I think their offense showed that they can pass well when they need to. I think they're going to kind of unleash the passing game a little bit. But in Tampa, Baker's a dog. Abuka looks great. Chris Godwin could be back for this one. I think it's going to be a close one, obviously, but I trust Philly's defense more. I think the offense, isn't as banged up as Tampa, so I think they're going to be more consistent. And I like Philly to win this one around like 27-20 in our A model. Has Philly also getting the road up? I guess upset. I'm not sure what the spread is. I think Philly might be favored by a point. But I think just injuries big up front. I think D-line, Nolan Smith, or I think Nolan Smith might be out actually on IR, but Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, they should be able to get after it enough. Zach Bond. And, while they haven't looked like the best defense football like last year, they're still a very good unit. I think they'll force Baker into 1 or 2 mistakes, even though Baker's a dog. I think just with the injuries, whether it's a fumble or something, I think Philly more healthier. I think the more all-around complete team on defense and offense will get close W. Next up, Colts versus Rams. Colts 3-0. Danny Dimes playing at an MVP level if you want to talk about MVPs. Matthew Stafford in this Rams offense, though, is one of the best in football, and their defenses as well. I know they choked that game against Philly, but I think just being up 26-7 against the champs on the road shows how good this Rams team is. And I like them at home to get this one. If it was in Indianapolis, I'd probably go Indianapolis. I think these two teams are pretty even, but still I trust Matthew Stafford over Daniel Jones. I think this defense, the Rams defense, is a decent chunk better than the Colts. The Colts front seven really isn't all that great generating pass rush. They have been able to force turnovers to really help out, but overall, I think the Rams are just a more complete team. And our AI model also agrees with this one. They have the Rams winning a close one, 28-24. It's kind of hard to write off how great Daniel Jones has looked, Tyler Warren, John are looking like the best running back in football. It could be, I think the Colts offense will give the Rams defense some trouble, but the Rams, I think with Nakua, Devontae Adams, a slightly more complete team at home. I like them winning this one also in a close, 24-21 type of game. Next up, Jacksonville versus San Fran. I'm picking San Fran. I think even with all the injuries, Kyle Shanahan just finds a way to get it done. I think this is a game where it's going to be close. Jacksonville's defense has forced a lot of turnovers, so maybe they can get one on Mackie Jones. But Ricky Pearsall, Christian McCaffrey, I still trust him enough. But Brock Purdy may be back for this game, actually. So if he's back, I have even more confidence. And Trevor Lawrence, I think, is just due for one or two mistakes that kind of, make San Fran win. And our model also agrees. They're pretty confident in San Fran taking this one at home. While Travis Etienne has been great so far, Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr. really haven't gotten going. And if this is the week that they do, I could easily see this swing to Jacksonville. But Robert Saleh has really coached up this defense, and it sucks that Nick Bosa's out for the year because 49ers fully healthy could make a Super Bowl run. And I still think, they're going to be competing for that division title, but injuries really have them banged up right now. So I still like the 49ers to win this one. They've proven me wrong over last week when I picked Arizona. I think I trust them to win this one, and they're finally proven to be a clutch team, winning, I believe, all three games so far this season by one possession. So credit San Fran. Next up, Baltimore versus Kansas City. Two teams desperate, obviously, with Super Bowl expectations to not go, to not start the season 1-3. And for me, the Ravens were my Super Bowl pick. I still trust them more. I think their offense is better. I think their defense is still better, or I think that's definitely a closer debate, but I think Baltimore secondary is still one of the best. I would say actually probably Kansas City, just given the way they've been playing, are probably the better defense, especially in run defense with Chris Jones. But still Baltimore secondary, Kyle Hamilton, Nate Wiggins. I don't think they're as bad as they've shown over the first 3 weeks. They kind of started off the season last year so slow. But I think the difference in offensive gap is big enough where I trust Baltimore. Lamar's still playing MVP level. Derrick Henry has had a fumbling problem, but he's still one of the best running backs in football. I'm not ready to give up on him yet, especially for my fantasy team. Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews finally had a breakout game. Isaiah likely coming back soon. Zay Flowers, Bateman, like I mentioned. This Baltimore Ravens team is just more talented. I just can't see a world they start 1-3. Wouldn't surprise me, though, because the Chiefs, find a way to pull these games out. But still, even with the win against Giants, I wasn't really that impressed. And just without Rashee Rice yet, I can't really fully trust them worthy. Even if this is the first game he plays, still the first game coming off a shoulder injury that, is still going to limit him. So I like the Ravens in this one to win it. I just have more confidence in their offense to get it done and more team as a whole. And the RA model likes Baltimore win this game by 1 point, 28-27. Not very confident, and I don't really blame them at Arrowhead. That environment's going to be going crazy. They do have the momentum. And the Ravens, I could see them feeling a little defeated after the Lions game because they got dominated in the trenches. Lamar Jackson got sacked 7 times. So Chiefs fans should have hope. I think it's going to be a close one. But like I said, just my Super Bowl pick. I trust the Ravens. Probably even though I shouldn't because they're not really great in these clutch games. But give me the Ravens to win this one. Can't bet against Lamar. One of my favorite QBs of all time to watch. Next up, our 4:00 afternoon slate. Really should be an interesting one. The Bears. Bears fans are probably lit after last week. Caleb Williams, 4 touchdown passes, best game he's looked by so far. Defense was swarming, forcing Dak into some interceptions. Raiders, it's been kind of underwhelming so far. GNT has kind of failed to get going. That offensive line doesn't look great. Geno's had his moment, with Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, Tyquan Thornton, or not Tyquan Thornton. He's on the Chiefs. but with Trey Tucker especially, had 3 touchdown catches last week. Brock Bowers. The Raiders offense just has been a little bit underwhelming for me, from what I expected. And I, while I like Pete Carroll as a coach, I think Ben Johnson has got this team in the right direction. I think they have the momentum. I think the Raiders just kind of laid a dud last week against the Jaden Daniel-less Commanders, allowing 41 points. I know it wasn't all on defense. They had a special teams touchdown, but, the Raiders offense had, some nice plays in the fourth, but kind of a little bit of garbage time. I just think with the way the Raiders have been playing, I trust Chicago more. I think against the Vikings, they looked like the better team for 3 quarters. Against the Lions, they got flat out dominated after the first quarter, but they responded nicely with a dominant win of themselves against the Cowboys. Dennis Allen, I think, can coach up a scheme, even with Jalen Johnson being out, to just do enough to squeak out a dub. And our A model agrees. So we've only disagreed on the one Washington versus Falcons game so far. So maybe, that's a good thing for me, considering how the AI model did last week compared to me. Next up, Green Bay versus Dallas. The Micah Parsons revenge game. It's just going to be so exciting to watch for that purpose, because I'm not really looking to watch the Cowboys without CeeDee Lamb. But with that being said, Green Bay, I think, is going to be pissed off. They choked that game against the Browns, losing up 10-0 with 3 minutes left. Jordan Love made his first bad play of the season. And even with the injuries to Jane Reed, they still got Matthew Golden that could easily, break out for his first, 80-plus yard game. Josh Jacobs still has kind of failed to get going efficiently. I think even with the injuries, Dallas's defense stinks. So Jordan Love should have field day. Tucker Kraft, whoever it is, someone will be able to step up for them. Romeo Doubs. I think this Packers team is going to be pissed off. I think Matt LaFleur is a great coach. I think those have the answers, especially without CeeDee Lamb. Dallas won't be able to keep up. And I'm just curious. I think the matchup is going to be Green Bay's D-line versus Dallas's O-line. And Dallas's O-line, I believe it's rookie Tyler Booker is injured. So Micah Parsons, whether he's lined up inside or out, I think it's just going to be interesting to see how he does. And, he's going to want to stick it to Jerry Jones. I think my confidence level for this one's a 5 out of 5. Our model thinks it's going to be closer than expected. I think they are worried about Green Bay's injuries on the O-line. Dallas could maybe disrupt this game, make it a little bit uncomfortable, but they still also like Green Bay winning this one. Next up, Miami versus the Jets, a battle. We have a Monday night doubleheader. Not really looking forward to watching this. I picked Miami. I just trust their offensive talent more. And I did, like what I saw for the Bills. Tua obviously made that bad play at the end. But for the most part, they played efficient football with Achane, Tyreek, Waddle. I think they're just the more talented team offensively. I think front seven wise, Chop Robinson really hasn't played all that great. But if he could get going, Bradley Chubb, I think they'll be able to generate enough pressure, whether it's Justin Fields, Tyrod Taylor, to rattle this New York Jets offense enough. I think it's going to be a dogfight. Jets, have been scrappy as well with Aaron Glenn. But at Miami, I think these two teams will split, but Tua has had the New York Jets number. At home, I think they're due for a win. Just to, keep, I guess, minor hopes alive of, their playoff hopes. I have it, at like a 20-17 game. Our model has Miami winning 24-17. So we're not really all that far off. We both like Miami to win at home. Next up, Cincinnati versus Denver. Even though Cincinnati's 2-1, and Denver's 1-2, it's in Denver. Denver could easily be 3-0. That the game against Indianapolis, he missed the kick. They called the over the center penalty. And then they were up 20-13 on the Chargers late. I think Denver, despite how I've been disappointed Bo Nix, their defense is way better than Cincinnati's. Their offensive line is way better than Cincinnati's. Bo Nix is still better than Jake Browning, because Jake Browning has thrown like 5 picks or something in, I think, 1.5 games so far. They're the better team overall, up and down, besides receiver with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Maybe Jake Brown can have a bounce-back game, but in Denver, against one of the best defenses in football still. Zach Taylor, don't really trust him as a head coach. I trust Sean Payne more. Denver, like I said, could easily be 3-0. They're still, a team hunting for playoff hopes, and I think they're going to win this one, because if they start off 1-3, they're screwed. If Cincinnati wins, I'd be extremely impressed. I don't really know how it would happen, because the way they looked against my Vikings, it was awful. Very undisciplined football team. 5 turnovers. But with that being said, our A model also likes Denver to win this one at home. So that leaves really the only game we disagree on, Washington versus Atlanta, I think. Just with the scare to Jane Daniels, lack of practice reps, Atlanta bouncing back. They like Atlanta. I'll still stick with my pick in Washington, but it'll be curious to see who edges that game out. But I think this is the first time, where we don't have a lot of 50-50 games, or where we do, we just agree on. So that's maybe a good sign for me. But with that being said, like it says, it should start off with an electric NFC West showdown between the Seahawks versus Cardinals tonight. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know what games you're circling, what upsets you have, or blocks of the week, because I'm always curious to get your guys' thoughts or where you agree, disagree with in my picks. But as always, please, if you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to like, subscribe. It truly means the world to me. Trying to reach 100 subscribers towards the end of October. But with that being said, we'll be here tomorrow to recap the game. Give some college football, final NFL thoughts before the weekend approaches. But with that being said, thank you guys always for listening. Catch you in the next one. Peace.